Hello, my name is Joaquin and I'm an engineer in the routine team. And today I wanted to talk to you about the editor that we've been working on for the past couple of months. It's a full from the ground up version of the editor that brings with it lots of improvements, and it will bring a lot of stability. I'm going to be showing you what it means. This is a little bit of a longer demo, so bear with me if there are any hiccups in between. And at the end, I'll talk about what we've been working on the last week. So just to show an example of what I mean, this is the page, or a page I have in Notes, and internally we have this toggle to switch between the old editor and the new editor, so that we can test it and see that we are actually having the same functionality that we had before, plus all of the improvements that I'm going to talk about. So the first thing you'll notice is that the new editor is WYSIWYG. That means what you see is what you get. So for example, when you're editing this line, you'll see that you have the markup here, and in the new editor, you can see that the style is in line. What this means is that all changes that you do to the markup, for example, if I bold this one here, they are reflected in the markup, and you don't see all this markup that we technical people, me included, really like, but most users really prefer what you see is what you get experience when editing, and they don't want to see the markup. So as you'll see, there's many improvements that come with this that we've been working on. For example, here, if you select a piece of text, you see that it's not marking that it's bolded. Only when I select the whole thing, italic. When I select the whole thing, it shows that it's italics, but not in the center. And in the new editor, for example, if I selected a piece, you'll see that it's properly marked, and the same with other things. So many improvements as we've been working on the new editor to bring, to fix lots of the bugs that were present in the existing editor, and bring a better experience overall. Another example of this, for example, is that when you select some text and you want to format it, for example, now the menu follows your selection so that you always have access to the menu. In an example that was a problem before is that when you were selecting some text here, if now I wanted to move up, for example, you will see that I can't see the text where I'm selecting. I don't know if I actually want to bold it or whatever I want to do. And in the same case, in the new editor, for example, when you select something and you're moving around, the menu will get out of your way so you can see what you're doing, and you can apply the formatting that you want. What else can I show? Let me see. So another big important thing that the new editor brings is the cursor management across the text and in the document. So you'll be familiar when you're in the routine editor and you're moving around. For example, when I'm in a single block, then it's all fine. But if I move down, you'll see the editor goes to the beginning of the line, and if I move up, it goes to the end of the line. And this is one of those things where you really have to let the, in our case, the browser do what it does with the cursor, and you can't be meddling with it, because otherwise it gets very hard to do the cursor management. So that's where the new editor really shines. It really preserves the cursor position even across blocks, which is great, and it's very, very consistent with what you expect in any other document. So if I jump to the end of the line, I go down, it stays there. If I go back, it maintains the position. So this is really great. And as you can see, it remembers if you've been at the end of the line. It's what you do in documents. It's really foundational technology that makes navigating the content and editing it a lot more consistent. So that's a really great improvement that we get with the new editor. And another thing is that, as you know, in the old editor, you can't select across blocks. So if I start selecting text, when I get to the end, I'll just go to the next block, and I can't select down. So if I'm selecting and I press down, I select to the end of the line, and then I select the blocks. In the new editor, we have the capability to select across blocks. So if I'm selecting text in this block and I go continue, Then, as you expect, you continue selecting text in the next block, and I can also go down and do a text selection that is consistent with how other document editors work. So this is great because now we can also apply any of our changes or formatting across multiple blocks. This all works fine, even with the mouse. So I can select text in a couple of blocks because I want to do a text selection, not a block selection, and I can do, for example, underline. And this all works fine. Let's see. So we've shown text selection, the cursor movement. One of the things that I'm very excited about is the consistency of the new editors undo and redo. So right now, I did this selection and the underlining, and I can undo it and I can redo it, and that all works fine. And the undo and redo is very consistent for all of the actions that we do in the editor. As you know, in the existing editor, if I type something and I undo, it doesn't work. If I bold something and then I want to undo it, it doesn't work. Here you saw, for example, the cursor jumped over here, even if I bold it here. Those kinds of things really don't happen in the new editor. It's very consistent with the text selection. As you can see, it maintains it so you can do multiple actions on it. And if I undo now, you can see I get the bold, the italic bold that I was doing, the italic, I was playing with the buttons, and now none of the formats, and I can redo it. And the same goes for adding any content. I can undo, I can redo. So very, very consistent undo and redo that brings lots of less problems when editing your notes, less fear of changing something and losing the content that you had. For example, if you had a block and for some reason you delete it and you type something else, you can undo that easily, no problem. You can copy it, redo, and then go down and paste it again. Like, it's very, very consistent with how other notes editors work, and it brings, I think, lots of stability and lots of confidence in the editing that you do in your notes. I'm very happy about how it's turning out. Let's see, what else? Let me see what else I have in the list. We talked about text changes and how you can undo them, the formatting changes, and they undo and redo fine. You can delete things, for example, do actions across different blocks, and you can undo those and redo them. All of that works perfectly fine. And also any changes we do at the block level, for example, like I showed, if I select a block and I get rid of it, and I do the same with this one, I can also undo that and redo it as well. And the same for moving things. If I move this block down here, I can undo and redo the movement, and I see the selection, which is very useful to know what's happening with it. Let's see, what else? Other changes, for example, we've been building all of the features that we have in the existing editor, in the new editor, for example, and with some of them we brought some improvements. One of them is the slash menu. As you know, we have the slash menu for making some sort of block, like a heading. And here, once you have the block, you can't change it, you can't do anything with it. And that's one of the things, for example, that we've improved with the new editor. You can trigger the slash menu from anywhere in a block to change the type of block. So I can turn this into a piece of text, or I can turn it into a small heading, medium heading, or any of the other blocks. For example, I can add a divider. And that's one of the things that we did with the slash menu. And also the changes with the slash menu can be, as we mentioned before, undone and redone. So here we turned it into heading, and I can redo it, and I can undo it, and that's something that with the existing editor you can't do. You can't use the slash menu to change the type of the block, and you can't undo or redo because you can't change the type. So those are also great in case you imagine you want to start writing, do something tomorrow, and you think, oh, I wanted a task. You don't need to go to the beginning of the line and do the shortcut. You can also go to the end of the line and do slash task, and that's a different way of changing the type of a block. That's also very intuitive when you're editing things. Let's see. Let me get rid of this and continue. One of the other changes that we have in the editor is the lists. We have the same kind of lists that we have in the old editor, but we have the bullets are now hierarchical instead of being a list of bullets with some depth. Let me show what I mean. If I go to the old editor and I have a list here and I type hello, test, blah, and now if I indent this block, I can actually keep pushing it ad infinitum, and this isn't right. You should only be able to nest a block to the next level of whatever parent it has, and in the new editor, that's the case. You can dedent and indent something, and you can't indent it further. I'm pressing tab and it's not going further, and you can do the same. And so one of the things that falls out of the lists being a tree of items now, besides keeping a proper structure, not being able to indent it further than it should, one of them, for example, is that if I select a list item, it's itself, if it doesn't have any children, but if I select the parent list item, then it selects itself and the children that it contains. And with that selection, we can move it around, and it can be inside or outside the list. This is inside, this is outside, and I move it with the children as well. The other thing is that since the children of a list item are nested inside the parent list item, if I indent it, the children go with it, right? So I can unindent and indent them all together. And the same thing goes for if I had other items, then if I unindent this one, they come with it. So because it's a tree, you can manipulate the list items and the contents that are nested in it together. And yeah, so there's also the numbered list items, of course. Same thing, 1, 2, and then we can move this one in and this one in, and if I outdent this one, it will be outdented with the children, because like we said, list items keep a structure which is very consistent and keeps the structure of the tree. It doesn't matter what you do. It's unlike the in the old editor where you can nest them past, and you can have weird broken things like this one. In the new editor, that doesn't happen. And yeah, let's see, what else can we talk about? We talked about list items. Of course, we have added the tasks like we showed before. So you can do them with the markup shortcuts. So basically the square brackets, and or we can do the task and make a task, and we can also do it after, so task, and create it like that. And we also have we've been working the last week, so adding the natural language processing as well, so you can have the tomorrow, for example, to set the date. Or one of the things that we did that's a little bit different before, in the old editor, when you create a task and it already has a date set. For example, I'm here. If I type tomorrow, it just doesn't do anything for it. So I lose that ability of using natural language to change the task. And one of the things that we've done with the new editor is that we keep the language, the natural language recognition, even if the task has a date. So I can say, imagine I'm editing this, blah, blah, and I change my mind. I don't have to use the mouse or the console or anything like that. I can just do today and set it like that. So that works fine. Of course, you can also do Command L and set the date that way. That works well. But you have options. I personally like writing the thing here in line. It feels very natural. As you saw, the shortcuts work like Command L, Command E to complete the task and all of those. So we've been implementing all of that. That should work fine. And of course, you can interact with the mouse or with the mouse here. All of that is fine. Same thing for the recurring tasks. So I can make a task and say buy milk every week, and we get a recurring task, which is great. Same thing as with the existing editor. And let's see, one thing, for example, you can select a task. You can select a task by pressing escape, and you can do the same thing with the recurring task. And that may sound like something dumb, but in the old editor you can select a task, but escape on the recurring task doesn't work for some reason. So as I said, we've been fixing those tiny bugs that we keep finding. We're trying to make the experience as consistent as possible and remove all of those tiny things while we are implementing this, the new editor. So yeah, that's of course you can undo and redo all of those things. Finally, for coming to the end of the video, I want to talk about the things that we were working on this last week. So we started working with the block selection, so that if you are in text mode, you can move around, right, like we said before. But you can go to block mode by pressing escape, and then you're moving in block mode. And so this works as expected. And you can also use shift and the arrow keys to select multiple blocks like you would expect. And you can do operations on them. Not all of them are supported at the moment, but many of them work. For example, deleting works fine, and you can undo that. Here there's a bug, right? We have to restore the selection for the multiple node selection. But we're still working on it, ironing out the kinks. And we also been doing improvements to other of the things that we have. I didn't talk about references, but we do have references as well. So this last week we've been adding the loading stage, which we were missing before, and also allowing spaces on the query. So if you do getting and a space, then that works. It's in a different merge request, but that works now. You can use spaces when searching for references. So yeah, references work as well, and all the other blocks also work. I didn't show them, but we have the embeds, so you can enter a URL here, and it will work. You can have the views as well. I don't have premium in my test account, but that works too. And yeah, all of those work fine. Divider, of course, which I showed at the beginning, I believe. We can get rid of that. And yeah, lots of tweaks and improvements basically for the editing experience. That's lots of tiny little things that go into making an editor behave like you expect. We still have a bunch of those little improvements that we have in the queue, but we're pushing forward with the main features that we want to implement so that we can release the new editor, because it seems like a better experience overall, as you saw, and we can polish those details going forward incrementally while getting feedback. And after we finish with those block selection improvements and we're gonna be doing a couple other big features. For example, like the block selection I didn't mention. This is still not working on the new editor, of course. It works in the old editor. So we still have to do some work with that, and a couple other more significant things, and then lots of polish. But we're not gonna let perfect be the enemy of good enough, because it's already a good experience, and we want to release it soon. So yeah, that's it. Let me know if you have any feedback, and in the Slack community or in Discord. And I hope to give you an update next week about other improvements to the editor. Hopefully a lot shorter. This one was longer because I wanted to give an overview of how the whole thing works. And I'm very excited, as you may have heard, about the features of the editor, the undo, the redo, and all of those things that make editing the document a lot more streamlined, in my opinion. So yeah, that's it. Have a good day or evening, or whatever time of the day is where you are. Bye.